Thursday evening, that time once again for BNL Courtside, our weekly basketball magazine show, bringing you highlights, reviews and previews of what's happening in and around the Basketball National League. Hey, KP isn't here with us, but we're holding it down with Q as a duo. We're old school like that, so you might as well call us KC and Jojo.
All my life, I thought I'd never hear an intro like that at all. And KP lost in Beijing, KP not around, but Basketball National League is on, and the game in week 4, it's been absolutely surreal. We got to see some of our favorite teams, some of our favorites. My favorites, the Goli Magic, the Tshwane Suns, both 5-0, and they remain undefeated. The KwaZulu Marlins picking up their first win, and they did that in good style. The Northwest Eagles, my dark horses, a little bit disappointing this weekend, but all in all, it was a great weekend of basketball action, and once again, a nice trademark for South African basketball. We are on the rise.
Well, that's just a quick rundown of what you are to expect throughout the show. But before we go any further, let's just look at our week 4 results. And the week 4 results right there, the Tshwane Suns are squeezing a 3-point lead, a 3-point win over the Northwest Eagles, and the Goli Magic fighting hard to maintain their wins over the Soweto Panthers and triumphing on Friday evening. On Saturday, the KwaZulu Marlins picking up their first win, giving the Northwest Eagles back-to-back defeats. The Duzi Royals squeezing past the Mpumalanga Rhinos. The Warriors fighting their way and keeping a win against the Limpopo Pride. Sunday, 4 whopping games. The Zebras losing by a total of 70 points against the Duzi Royals. The Western Cape Mountaineers going down to the Tshwane Suns. The Free State Warriors winning once again against the Eastern Cape Windbreakers, and a nail-biter to the last second. The Soweto Panthers edging over the KwaZulu Marlins. And we had a great game to start things off on Friday evening. Your defending champions, the Tshwane Suns, Cap City was in the house going up against the Northwest Eagles. At this point, both the Suns and the Eagles had yet to lose a game, and one of these teams was going to go home having picked up a loss.
And we knew that this was going to be a tight affair from the word go. The first quarter, a nail-biter, 17-7, a 10-point lead for the Tshwane Suns. My man Dubi Sanimoyo knocking down the three-pointer. The Suns managed to fight back and get back in the game through the play of Angola Kiohatile. And you see him getting blocked there in the play, but he was instrumental. He had a big play. Pusi Tlamini getting a jumper from the top of the key. The score at halftime, 17-20, and the Northwest Eagles stay in the game. And this play by Mtembu is ever improving for the Tshwane Suns. Now, Neo Mutiba, he had an impact in the game for the Suns. He had 13.6 rebounds. Larry Jackson's free throws still an issue. 2 of 13 for Larry Jackson from the free throw line. And this was one of the highlight plays of the game. Kiohatile on dunk. Temple trying to follow. And the flexed arms, a trademark. Funny enough, Kiohatile injuring himself on this play, and it kept him out of play for the rest of the weekend. But that was one of the highlight plays of the game. Free throw shooting proving key towards the end of the game.
And Njingana with the follow on that play. The Eagles kept it close throughout the game, but really losing it towards the end. And Laki Luate hitting that final 3 at the end right there. And it was just difficult for the Northwest Eagles to overcome the Tshwane Suns, and the Tshwane Suns really just making sure that they keep their record together and intact. And it was just difficult for the Eagles to assail them, and the Swans picking up the win in that game.
Well, one of the talking points I just want to bring in is the fact that the Eagles had no role player. They had no defined role player, did not know who was going to have the ball at the end of the game, and that was part of the reason that they managed to lose the game. And the second game that evening was the Soweto Panthers taking on the
What a great way to start the weekend. And the second game we had the Soweto Panthers taking on the Goli Magic, and it was a nail-biter all the way to the end, and the fourth quarter proving very decisive for both of these teams. Jonathan van der Beek with a long step-back jumper over Richard Dale, and Sfiso Ngobo also getting involved. We haven't seen him shooting his trademark threes, and right there really reintroducing himself to the game and for the Soweto Panthers with that 3.
Indeed, Soweto Soweto Panthers playing well, Nobo getting 13 points, but the front court of the Igoli Magic, Tabang Khwedi, Jonathan van der Bijl, proving instrumental in the play. And there was one name that stuck out for the Igoli Magic, and that was their point guard, Jose Salvador, Lesego Molopatsi. And this was a super pretty play, the finesse finish from the Big Easy, Lesego Molopatsi, and that got the crowd off their feet. But the Igoli Magic out and out, proving that they are definitely a top contender in this league, proving that they are here to play, proving that they are here to compete. And I think the only teams that they necessarily need to be wary of are the Tshwane Suns and the Duzi Royals.
The Panthers stayed in that game. Mike Mukumbuta contributing himself with a long three towards the end of the game. And Mokgotsi, this is one play that he's always got going for him. But Jonathan van der Bijl drawing the charge on that play, and Jose Salvador taking the ball to the hole. And no one can stop Jose Salvador. And of course, Jose Salvador Q just proving to be a challenge for most point guards in the league. They can't keep up. I can't wait. They can't keep up.
The number one point guard in the league, Jose Salvador, he really is stamping his authority, the Angolan point guard, bringing quality to the Igoli Magic, and is one of the key factors in the game.
Our very next game, Saturday morning, the Northwest Eagles taking on a winless KwaZulu Marlins. Nhlanhla Dlamini starting proceedings and opening with a 3, and I keep saying this and I'll say it all the time, that Nhlanhla Dlamini has got to come out firing and scoring and leading from the front for his team, because they will always win a ball game. But Taban Klaas also responding with a 3 of his own on that point.
I agree with you, Nhlanhla Dlamini is key, but for the Marlins, they are a team. They run a team offense, and when they play really well, all of the players on their team get touches. Shange had 11 points, Holcomb had 12, and Benjamin Constable, he was the MVP of the game. His 19 points made a fundamental difference for this Marlins outfit. The Eagles really struggling otherwise on the offensive end. Ayanda Shange, he had a breakout game. It was an important performance for him. Started to play relaxed, started to look better for the Marlins, and it was supposed to bode well for the Marlins going into the weekend.
And Landelani Ngobani with a two-hand dunk on the break, and really getting loose. Landelani Ngobani not getting any minutes over the past 2 seasons, but finally getting some play, and immediately after that play, another dunk on the break. And at that point, the game was sealed and the Marlins had secured the win. That 3 right there by Mahota Mudisa Esi. And Q, let's just talk about the Marlins coming into that game, building the lead and securing it and just consolidating the win.
I think it was a good win for Coach Craig Gilchrist. He was under a lot of pressure. He needed that win. It was very important for KwaZulu-Natal and for the Marlins.
And our next game on Saturday afternoon, the Duzi Royals, 2-1 at this point, going up against the Mpumalanga Rhinos. And this game went back and forth throughout the whole game. Kevin Romano really coming out and scoring. I loved how he was on the break, but Thabo Sithole starting the game for the Duzi Royals and really shooting lights out.
It was 31-29 at halftime to the Duzi Royals. It was a close game. The final score does give you an indication of how well the Royals played, but the standout performer for the Royals was Mr. Tsakani Ngobeni. Ngobeni had 16 points and 5 rebounds. It was a breakout performance for him. Thabo Sithole knocking down the 3, but the play of Ngobeni kept them in the game. The play of Ngobeni gave them the lead, and that dunk emphasizing everything, putting some sauce on it, getting chest bumps all around. But Ngobeni out in transition, making sure that he got that dunk. It was an exclamation point, a point of emphasis, and it was Ngobeni announcing his return to the Duzi Royals, finding space. And again, a second dunk. That means that Ngobeni is starting to find his role in the team. He's been quiet on the offensive end, and he got it done from everywhere on the floor, and that's why we have him for those 3 highlights.
Well, this was just great seeing Tsakani Ngobeni just playing the kind of game that we know him to play, but Kebashwe coming in, cutting on the baseline, and an emphatic 2-handed dunk, and the Rhinos call for a timeout immediately, and Ngobeni doing everything for the Royals in this game, finishing with 16 points, playing inside and outside, and creating as well for the Duzi Royals. It was just a great all-round performance, but Q, at the same time, the Rhinos were in this game.
The Rhinos played all right. The Rhinos, they struggle with their rotations. They struggle with understanding who the stars are on their team. And I think we saw that later on in the weekend. But it was nice to have a breakout performance from Sakani Ngobeni. It was nice to find Thabo Sithole getting into double figures. I think there were other performances we should talk about over the weekend, and that was the KwaZulu Marlins that win over the Eagles. Instrumental. The Eagles now in a little bit of a hole. They were a top 4 contender, and I think this weekend might have knocked back some of those chances, might have taken them away from what their ultimate goal is. They've got a lot of work to do in the upcoming week if they intend on being a top 4 contender.
Well, that number 4 spot, a very coveted spot right now, because a whole lot of teams are vying for that top 4 spot. You look at the Panthers having picked up 2 losses, and you look at the Eagles having picked up 2 losses as well. The Mountaineers also fighting for that spot. The Marlins out with a chance, and many other teams wanting to go for that 4th position. But the absence of Mohamed Tangara kind of opening up the team a little bit, and players like Chief Mwejana getting an opportunity to shine and really play their offense and also get a start.
But this is what is a problem for Coach Michel Katala. It's how do you rotate players when your overseas star comes back? How do you find key combinations that work for you when your star comes back? And I mean, it's difficult for Coach Michel Katala. He's under a lot of pressure. This is the most watched team in the league. They're the most popular team in the league. And there's a lot of pressure riding on every victory. You can't drop the ball once when you are a Duzi Royal. You can't drop the ball at all if you are a Duzi Loyal. They follow the team religiously. So for Coach Michel Katala, he's got to get W's and he's got to get good W's.
Well, he's got to get a good W's, Coach Michel Katala, and I definitely agree with you, Q, on the fact that when you look at last season, you look at this season, the Royals are winning, but they don't seem to be improving, and there is a need to improve with every game and every win that they pick up. But right now, they still have a whole lot to do, because they still have a whole lot of teams to play, and it is very much a pressure-filled situation for the Duzi Royals. They have yet to meet the Tshwane Suns as well, so that is a game that is very much anticipated. You want to stay with us? We're going to head to a quick break. When we come back from the break, we have more highlights for you from Sunday's games, and we also have our most coveted top 5. And welcome back to BNL Courtside, your weekly BNL basketball magazine show where we do highlights, reviews and previews, and we have Sunday's highlights from Sunday's games.
Western Cape Mountaineers taking on the Tshwane Suns, and the Suns of course had a narrow win over the Eagles, and this was going to be a contest for the coach Craig Daniels before the game, saying how much of a benchmark this game would be for the Western Cape Mountaineers. And it started out hard for the Mountaineers. They just couldn't find touches from the floor. They struggled from the field. Larry Jackson Jr., he struggled. He only had 4 points in the game. But luckily for the Tshwane Suns, cometh the man, cometh the hour. Tumba on the fast break. That was supposed to signal a momentum shift for the Mountaineers. They really could not find any sort of feel from the field. They tried it from the outside. They tried it from the inside. It did not work for them. Did not work all game. In fact, they could try to, every time they tried to go on a run, the Tshwane Suns had an answer, whether it was from the outside, whether it was from the inside. Vincent Tunja led the scoring for the Mountaineers. He had 15 points. Neo Matiba, 20 points and 7 rebounds for the Tshwane Suns.
Well, it was great seeing Alan Danga back for the Tshwane Suns, and really just proving that he is the same old Alan Danga that we know. Very resourceful, invaluable player for the Tshwane Suns. But Neo Motiba, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and those threes right there to start the second half, Q. He hit those threes, and that really got him in the groove. But this is the type of player he is. The touch pass to Somusam Tembu and the two-handed dunk. He facilitates. He does everything for this team. He leads from the front. They need him on the floor because he's the type of player that emboldens everyone else on the team.
And it always feels like we are belaboring the point that Neo Matiba is a fantastic player, but he really is the heart and soul of the Tshwane Suns. As much as when he's not on the floor, they continue to win, but when he's on the floor and playing well, they are almost invincible. Those 20 points, absolutely key and instrumental in the way that the Tshwane Suns blew out the Western Cape Mountaineers. Of course, they did it off the back of their trademark, Tshwane Suns defense. Those 45 points and the low shooting percentage from the field, is the reason why the Western Cape Mountaineers struggled. And if they were looking at a benchmark as to how much work they need to do, they sure did get the benchmark from that game.
Well, Coach George McKenna, the great thing about him is he's also refining and tweaking his combination and his lineups, and it was just great even seeing here Teach Mabiza in some games coming off in the game against the Eagles, coming off the bench and also giving certain players a chance to come on the floor. But they also have young players. They also got an opportunity to play, to get some burn on the floor, and this will bode well for the Suns heading deep into the season and going into the playoffs. We know they want to win the championship for a third time. Sunday's game, we had another cracker of a game. This one was the game that concluded the weekend. After 4 games, we had the Soweto Panthers taking on the KwaZulu Marlins.
This was a must-win game for the KwaZulu Marlins. They had no choice but to win, and the Soweto Panthers stood in their way. Ayanda Shange had a quiet game considering the way he played in the Friday game against the Suns, and Lebisa Selepe was key and instrumental for in this game, absolutely, for the Marlins. Mike Mukumbuta, 18 points, 10 rebounds for the Soweto Panthers. Selepe had 21 points for the Soweto Panthers. Dlamini, the hustle play, and you know, Dlamini came out of his shell a little bit on the offensive end for the Marlins, and it was part of the reason that they stayed competitive for the whole game. I know how much you love Dlamini, and it was good to see him play up to his potential.
Well, it was just great. LK4, though, contributing for the Soweto Panthers, and the different type of player LK4 as compared to the player that we saw on Friday, played well down the stretch, hit big buckets down the stretch, and also came up big at the free throw line. This is not the LK4 we saw on Friday, but Ben Constable does everything for the KwaZulu Marlins at this point. Is able to penetrate, loves hitting the 3-ball, and Ayanda Shange on that play breaking off Sfisa Inobo and then dishing to Darren Holcomb for the baseline jump shot, and that was a buzzer beater to end the third quarter, going into the fourth for the KwaZulu Marlins. Of course, they would go down in the fourth quarter, but the KwaZulu Marlins finding it difficult right now to grind out wins.
One of the reasons that they could not do that was Reece Prinsloo. He came in the second half. He was injured, and I think it was coach's call to get him onto the pitch, or onto the court rather. And you know that Reece Prinsloo added an element of offensive rebounding. He adds heart and soul to that team, and he was a big reason why the Soweto Panthers were able to eke out their win. You just see how much character he brings to the team. The players love having him on the floor, and he was the X factor in the game, the X factor for the Soweto Panthers, and the reason why they won that game.
Well, great combination and a great call, great coaching by Coach Frank Belen of the Soweto Panthers. Right about now, we're going to cross straight to our top 5 plays of the week, and you want to stick around because this is the number 5 play. Amogelang Kiukhatile on the break with a sick double pump dunk on the break.
And Kiukhatile skies Mtembu chasing him, and that awkward landing is what caused Kiukhatile to not take part for the rest of this game or the rest of the weekend's games. Felt very hard, but spectacular it was on the break for Kiukhatile, and we just love those sort of plays. It's energy, it brings guys into the game. And of course, we're going to have a look now at our number 4.
And Ayanda Shange driving in and hanging in the air and then finishing with the right hand. And that play right there was a play that ended the quarter with a buzzer beater of a layup for Ayanda Shange. Ayanda Shange, really, like you said, coming out of his shell. This is the type of performance that he is needed. This is the type of performance that he's really, the Marlins have also needed from him. And it was just a great play by Ayanda Shange, taking it all the way to the hole and finishing acrobatics.
Well, what do we have in number 3?
Well, our number 3 play, Fumani Maranele and Thabo Sithole connect with the reverse alley-oop against the Eagles.
And it's just a pretty play from Thabo Sithole. Great recognition, sees his teammate cutting down the floor, and all that athleticism from the doctor, Fumani Maranele, allows him to operate. Doesn't catch it cleanly, but it's still a pretty play, and I think still worthy of a top 5 play mention for Fumani Maranele. And of course, our top 2 plays, you know, if the top 3 plays are this good, it'll be fun to see what we have in the top 2.
Well, the Royals at that point were just having fun throughout the game, but our number 2 play, another Royal, Tsakani Ngobeni, with the hammer on Fiston Mazoa.
And it's just capping off his night, an MVP performance for Tsakani Ngobeni. And Mazoa coming across to try and help, and all he got was a fistful of juggernaut as he threw it down. And point of emphasis, exclamation mark, and the Duzi Royals eked out a 6-point win based on the back of that momentum dunk from Tsakani Ngobeni.
Well, it was great seeing Tsakani Ngobeni getting chest bumps, but at the same time, Fiston Mazoa also getting encouragement from his team. But our number 1 play, Vusa Sithole, with the one-handed putback slam.
And the best part of this play is that he completely fluffs that 3-point shot. A hustle play from Matloane. He sticks with the play, and all over Nkwashu, face, poster, and this BNL poster series of mine just keeps growing every week. And that, again, capped a great weekend for Sithole, of another MVP performance for the Mercurial 5 guard from the Gold Free State Warriors.
I just like Vusa Sithole on that play. He walks away, forlorn after missing the 3, but then you see a different kind of body language after the putback slam. Let's take a look at the log right now of how the teams are positioned in the Basketball National League after week 4.
The Panthers 4-2, and they're at the top by virtue of the amount of games they play. But the top 2 teams in the league below them, the Suns and the Magic 5-0. The Warriors in the 4th place at 3-4. The Royals still 4-1. And then we look at the bottom of the log and we see the Zebras are 0-6, 1-5 for the Marlins, and then the Rhinos and Pride 9-8 respectively. The Windbreakers, bottom of the log, only by virtue of the amount of games that they've played.
Well, like I'll always say, numbers don't lie, but they are sure manipulative. And we take a look at the fixtures for week 5, what you can expect. And on Friday, the 24th of July, hey, the Eastern Cape Windbreakers take on the Agoli Magic. The Rhinos take on the defending champions, the Tshwane Suns. Both the Magic and the Suns will be looking to secure their records and not drop any games. And on Saturday, the Royals take on the Windbreakers. The Marlins take on the Warriors. The Eagles take on the Zebras. And Sunday, we close out with 3 games. Mountaineers against the Pride. Eagles take on the Magic. And the Panthers, a big one, take on the Duzi Royals.
Well, 2 games stand out for me, and that's definitely the Rhinos and Suns on the Friday night, and the Soweto Panthers taking on the Duzi Royals on Sunday, the 26th of July. 2 big games, 2 bumper games, and those are my 2 highlight games from week 5. Weekend 5 should be fun.
And it's just been a great week 4, looking at all the highlights and everything that unfolded for all the teams in the BNLQ. Any last thoughts?
It has been a great week 4. We're starting to get a clear indication of who the favorites are, a clear indication of the identities of some of the teams. The Agoli Magic and the Tshwane Suns clearly establishing themselves in the realm of the favorites. The Duzi Royals starting to develop their character, but I mean, there are other teams that can get honorable mentions. Who are your favorites? Who do you want to see live? You know, part of the fun of the BNL is not only watching it on TV, but come out to the stadium and see how these teams do it in person. It's part of the package, part of the fun. It really is great.
Q, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me in bringing this Courtside show, and it's just been great for you as well. We really appreciate you watching, but just also to extend gratitude to the fans who are watching, to the fans who are coming out to the arena just to take in this Basketball National League. The National League really is nothing without the support and the love that we get from everyone out there. We've come to the end of our show. We'll see you next week, and like TP said, close the door, turn off the lights. We out.